On today's Join Us in France, running the Paris Marathon with Calee Spinney. This is Join Us in France, episode 155. Bonjour, I'm Annie, and today I bring you a conversation with Calee Spinney, who ran the Paris Marathon in 2017 and comes with a lot of great tips for anybody who is thinking about doing it and shares some of the things that she wished she had known before she went. Our next Paris tour is scheduled for October 1st through October 7th, 2017. We would love to have you join us in France, not only through the podcast, but also in real life. All you need to reserve is a small deposit, and you need to visit addictedtofrance.com, the sister site to Join Us in France, to find out all the details. For show notes on this episode, go to joinusinfrance.com/155. And stick around until after the interview for my thanks to donors and also my personal update. Hello, Calee, and welcome to Join Us in France.
Hi, Annie. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm very excited to be talking to you today about running the Paris Marathon. First of all, I have to congratulate you because I can't imagine running any marathon whatsoever. So, wow. Do you do that often?
No, it was only my second one, and I think it actually might be my last. It's just, it takes up a lot of time to train, and it kind of makes me hate running.
Oh, okay. You don't want to do that. If you enjoy it normally, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, well, tell us how the Paris Marathon went for you and why you decided to run it, and maybe a little bit later on, all of the things that you wish you knew before you went.
So I really enjoyed it. I thought it went very, very smoothly. Most of the things were as you would expect if you've run a race before. I decided to do it honestly because I already had my trip to Paris planned, and then I happened to see that the date of the race fell during my trip, and I was just like, well, if I'm there and I'm not running it, I'm going to be mad about it. So I was just like, I might as well just jump in, even though, I only found out about it in January.
Wow.
So I didn't really have enough time to train like I would have normally, but I figured, if it's happening and if there's a race in Paris while I'm there, I have to do it.
Just jump right in. That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, because the Paris Marathon is in May, right? Or is it late April?
The marathon was April 9th this year.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, if you want to run the half marathon, that takes place in March.
Okay.
Yeah, so I kind of wish I had been around in March because that's more my style. Mm-hmm. But it worked out fine.
Right. And so you didn't have any trouble signing up for it. There were still spots left and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that they were still advertising it for quite a while after that. So I think that, even if you had kind of come across it, maybe even in the month or two beforehand, I think people could have signed up.
Oh, that's cool. Were there a lot of participants?
Yeah, I think that it's kind of an interesting race because I think a lot of the other international races you have to qualify for, but there's no qualification for the Paris Marathon. Mm-hmm. So I heard that like 60,000 people signed up, but only 50,000 people actually started the race.
Oh.
So I don't know what that's about. I don't know if like people just decide not to travel or they couldn't train or because I don't know what the normal attrition is for an American race.
Right.
But so that's kind of surprised me. And I did hear when I was at the Expo to pick up my bib, I did hear a few people around me talking about how they didn't realize that you had to have a medical form to run. So I think maybe some people miss out because of that.
You absolutely have to have a medical form. You want to explain that?
Yeah. So there's just, and it's a really basic medical form. You can download it from the marathon website, and you just have to go to a doctor to say that you're healthy enough to run.
Right.
So it's pretty basic. I think the doctor puts in, their name and their address and whatnot, and it has if you use the one that they have, it has all the terminology that they need right on it. And it just says, this person is healthy enough to engage in, running competitions.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And this is a French thing, actually. To do any sports in France, any organized sports, you need to show up with a medical certificate. And depending on how strenuous the form is, the event is, your doctor will be adjusting what they ask of you. Sometimes they ask you to do jumping jacks and then take your blood pressure before and after, to take, your pulse, see if you recuperate fast enough. That's that sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a very French thing, and don't try to run it without it. You won't get in. You won't.
Yeah, that's the first step at the expo. Like, if you didn't have the medical form, you didn't go anywhere past that.
Right, right. So, is it a pretty race to run? Is it in all over Paris?
Yeah, it's kind of, if you look at a map of Paris, it started at the Arc de Triomphe, and you kind of ran. If you're looking at the map, it's down and to the right, so you run to the Chateau de Vincennes.
Okay. You go all the way to the Chateau de Vincennes, okay?
Yep, and then you cut back around and you kind of almost run on the same angle all the way up to the foundation, the Louis Vuitton Foundation.
Yes.
And then you come back, and the finish is almost exactly where you started. So it's in the area on the Arc de Triomphe again.
That's cool. Were there lots of people cheering you on?
There were. It was really nice because it was a really warm day this year. Yeah, there were quite a few people, especially, not on the outer regions, by the chateau or and whatnot, but within the city itself, there were a lot of people on the sides of the road, which was pretty neat. And yeah, it was just really nice that there were, you could tell that there were tourists that just kind of happened upon it, but they were cheering too.
That's great.
Yeah.
Were there bands and things like that?
I'm sorry, were there what?
Bands?
Yeah, there were a lot of drumming groups there, which are really cool because you're not relying on someone to be a good singer or not. But yeah, and people had some really fun signs on the sideline and what. So it was good.
Did you feel it was well organized, that you got all the information you needed ahead of time?
Yeah, there was a little bit of guesswork, but at the same point, I really felt like it was going to work out. All the emails that came were in both French and English, so it was easy to it was easy to figure out what was going on, and everyone at the expo itself really knew what they were talking about. So I did have a couple of questions about like a gear check and things like that, because that's security around checking your gear has gotten tighter. But they were able to answer my questions with that, no problem.
Right. So how does it work? You've signed up, you've paid your dues, you have to go get your number now, right? On the day of or the day before?
The days before, so the expo was open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It was out, I forget the name of it. It was like Le Stade something. And it was out
at a stadium, okay.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it, but it was not anywhere where, the start of the finish or anything like that.
Right.
And they always have something like this where they'll have the section where you pick up your number and whatnot. And then they have just tons and tons of companies associated with running, whether it be running clothes or, fueling things that you might want or whatever. And the race shirts that you can buy and whatnot. There's a huge section set up so you can walk through and just, spend your money. But when you're going to pick up your bib, it's very clear. You go in and you give your medical form if you have that, and they stamp this other form that you had to print out that kind of gives your bib number and whatnot. And then you go to one section and they check your number and they give you a packet that has your race number on it and whatnot. And then you were able to sign up for a couple other things along the way, like some folks did like, you could buy tickets to a pasta dinner, so you picked up your tickets to that. Or the breakfast run, they had like a 5K the day before the race, so you would pick up your things associated with that. So it was kind of in a big like semicircle. You just picked up the things that you had paid for.
Ah, okay. So the pasta dinner was the day before, I suppose?
Yeah, I didn't sign up to do that because I kind of figured I could probably buy a nicer pasta dinner somewhere else. But that's a fairly common thing. So it was the evening before the race. I'm not sure where they held that.
So there's a bunch of extras that you can sign up for.
Absolutely. And they were very reasonably priced. I did the breakfast run the day before the race, and that it was like €8. And that included a t-shirt. So I felt like,
oh yeah,
very, very reasonable. Like I also purchased the medal personalization, which was €5. And it's just a little stick-on piece that will go on the back of your medal with your finish time. And I just got that in the mail the other week. So it takes a little while to come, but it was also coming to the US for me.
Yeah. I suppose there are professional photographers along the route.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course, they always do that. So yeah, it had all the amenities that you would expect, and I honestly felt like all of those add-ons would have been much more expensive in the United States.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So you didn't feel like it was a rip-off, buying a picture or buying obviously €8 for the breakfast. A hotel breakfast is between 12 and 16 or something, and that's not even an expensive hotel breakfast. That's the average price. And if you get a t-shirt on top of that, well, that's not bad.
Yeah, no, and I just thought it was really nice because they gave everyone running it like their country flag, and everyone brought their country flags to the run. So it was just really fun to see where everyone was from, and people were getting together to take pictures, like if they were from the same country or, mixing up different countries. So I just thought it was a really fun thing. And we ran through the Louvre area and whatnot, and there were just tons of tourists taking pictures of us at that point because it was probably a couple hundred people, and it clearly wasn't a whole race. So there were a lot of tourists just snapping pictures of the crazy people running on the cobblestone.
Yeah, on the cobblestone, was that hard on your body?
It was tricky. I did see a couple of people fall.
Yeah.
So I felt bad for them. I hope they didn't hurt themselves too much. So I, of course, told myself I would run in those mornings right after I got there, but it's really difficult to do that after you just float across the ocean.
Yeah.
So it was a nice way to guarantee that you at least got out once before the race, and just got to see things a little bit and make sure that your body was still functioning the way it was supposed to.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Mm-hmm. All right. So what do you wish you knew before you went? Things that surprised you, maybe, besides the medical certificate, because that's clearly something that you have to do.
Yeah. One thing that I would want to talk about is that, so there was a start area, and then if you wanted to check your bag, it was a pretty far walk back to the area where you did the bag check. Because obviously with security, they only wanted one way in and one way out. Yeah, so it was like a full metro stop. I got off when all the other people got off, even though I knew it wasn't the closest place, because I took the metro to the start. So then it was I would say probably at least a third of a mile that we were all walking back, and we were walking past the places where we knew the bags was, but we kind of had to walk all the way to the far end. The other thing is that, I was by myself, so it wasn't a problem, but they really only let the runners in. So if you were just a friend, like, they would not let you into the gear check area at all. So you had to go in and then come back out, and then you would meet up with your friend again.
Well, yeah, that's safety, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't something that I was surprised to see. Because I've run lots of big races in the US too, and you just kind of have to figure out what their system is and then just go along with it, because they have to, especially after the things that have happened. You have that they're doing it for your own safety, so you just with that. Another thing is I just wanted to say I thought it was very well organized with the different water and snacks that they had on the route, especially, like I said, it was a very warm day for us.
Mm-hmm.
They had just tons of water for us to drink, and they would have buckets of water set up on the side of the road. So if you wanted to just like put some water on your head or on your shirt or in your hat, you didn't have to take the drinking water to do that.
Ah, that's cool.
Yeah, so that was really good. And like even from the 5K mark, they had oranges and pretzels and things like that for people to fuel with, which I have found normally in American races, they'll only have one or two spots where they're giving out actual food like that. But they had it every 5K through the entire race.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so it was very, very good.
Yeah, it gives you a little sugar boost. That's good.
Absolutely. And and there was plenty of it because this was, I have never seen, I mean, like I said, it was a warm day, but I have never seen so many people just laying on the side of the road before.
Oh my.
Yeah. People were just near the end. They were just like laying on the side of the road, being stretched out by their friends, being fanned by their friends. I was like, oh my goodness.
How hot was it?
It was, and it was like 75 degrees Fahrenheit, which is in the 20s, I believe, Celsius.
Yeah, so 75 degrees Fahrenheit is probably 24, 25 Celsius.
So that doesn't sound very hot if
you're running, it is.
And there wasn't a lot of shade. I think that was the biggest problem, is that there wasn't a lot of shade, so it was difficult to try to regulate your own temperature.
Mm-hmm.
Because we also, like, American races tend to start at like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And with the way that they started things, I'm sure the elite runners started at 7 in the morning, but the rest of us, they had it set intervals. So it was like every 30 minutes or something. So I didn't start my race until after 9 o'clock. So yeah, right. And if you're calculating out the time for the mortals that are running, I didn't finish until like 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it was warm by then.
Yeah. It's hot by then.
Yeah.
All right. What else?
The other thing is that you do get a finisher shirt, and that was like, and it's kind of a silly thing, but it wasn't really clear from everything that I got ahead of time or at the expo if I was going to get a finisher shirt. So you do. So if you want to save a little money at the expo, you can, just wait for the finisher shirt, which is pretty nice. I guess that was a difference. Like American races tend to advertise their finisher shirt. They'll like show off the design ahead of time. And they didn't mention it at all.
Ah, okay. So you were maybe a little bit surprised that you got it in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of expecting it, but at the same time, I was like, well, who am I to know? I also wouldn't necessarily have been surprised if they didn't have it.
Right. So that's a different shirt from the one with the breakfast.
Right. Yes.
And so you were in Paris for how many days total?
I was there for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
Yeah, it was really nice. I tend to get jet lag pretty badly. So I feel like if I'm going to cross an ocean, I need to stay somewhere for at least 10 days. The race was a week after I arrived. So I did have a good amount of time to acclimate to the new time and whatnot before the race. So it was good and bad because I appreciated that. But then at the same time, I felt like I had to be careful about what I ate before I ran.
Yeah. Which is not easy.
Right. Or like I wanted to try to not walk as much in the days beforehand. So it was, a blessing and a curse in some ways. So I think that people would just need to think about how their own body reacts when they travel.
Yeah.
And, plan to arrive however much beforehand that they thought would make sense.
Yeah. Because, in Paris, and this is something I experienced recently with a tour that we did, people who have set ideas about what they want to eat, who want to eat healthy, in other words, is a little bit difficult. It's not impossible, but your choices are going to be limited. If you want the healthy choice, well, you're going to get salads or you're going to get fish, pretty much.
Right. Yeah.
Because these, in French people's minds, those are if you're a health nut, that's what you eat. And if you're everybody else, well, you eat lots of duck and beef and pork and things like that, which are never, super healthy. I mean, it's a lot of calories, and maybe you don't want to put on weight right before a race or something. I don't know. I've never done any races of any sort, but I suppose that's something you would want to watch probably. So yeah, keep that in mind. On vacation, you're not going to be eating super healthy unless you really try.
Right. Yeah. One thing to note is just kind of weird is I'm lactose intolerant in the US. But I was actually fine eating all the dairy in France. So I don't know
what bizarre.
Yeah, and I've heard that before. Some people who can't tolerate gluten in North America are fine eating bread in Europe, and I don't know if that's processing or different bacteria in the foods. But for me, I was, whatever. I was going to eat all the things regardless. But I brought Lactaid with me and I didn't take any of it. My body felt fine the entire time.
Oh, that's great. Hey.
Yeah. I mean, certainly if someone's going to get very ill, I wouldn't recommend that they try it. But I think if it's just like a little bit of a problem, give it a whirl when you're there because you might be surprised.
Yeah. And we do have very good, milk products. The yogurt and the creams and all that are pretty good. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, no, I had a very good time eating all the things.
So was this your first time in Paris or you had been before?
I had been before, but on a very, very quick trip when I was in college. My marching band went over and we played like at a parade over there and in Monaco and stuff. So
nice.
Yeah, it was really cool. And especially for a bunch of college kids, we were just on the top of the world.
Yeah.
But in Paris, I think we spent like 2 days there. So really not, I went places and I remembered having, visited Notre Dame before or the Louvre before, but I didn't have any really solid memories because I was just kind of checking off boxes. Yeah, but now this time I really got to go and just really enjoy the
So did you stay at a hotel or was it an Airbnb?
We stayed at an Airbnb that was right by Rue Mouffetard.
Oh, Rue Mouffetard, yes.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, no, it was wonderful. We were right on a metro line, so we used that quite a bit. We got the Navigo Cement card.
So that's the weekly bus and metro card. Yep.
Yeah, and we used that a lot. We really got our money's worth.
Yeah.
Because when you have a pass like that, like you don't worry about jumping on for just to stop.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that's really good about having the weekly pass is you don't count your trips. You just take, the transportation when you need it.
Right. Yeah. So we got to know the metro system, I think is what we mostly used, but we also took a few buses and we just felt, we were in a great location. There were tons of cafes and bistros nearby us. We were a mile from Notre Dame. So it was great.
Yeah. Did you feel safe?
Oh yeah. I mean, they were we saw, the gendarme around quite a bit. They were walking the streets in groups of 4 all the time. But I mean, I felt very safe. I kind of went in that little window between the Orly attack and then the attack on the Champs-Elysees.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I felt fine the entire time. I never felt like, oh, I shouldn't be here or these people, this or that. Like I just, there was security around, but I honestly saw that as a good thing. Like if something happens, there's someone nearby to take care of it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, things can happen anywhere.
Exactly.
So, so long as you're not personally feeling threatened and freaked out, that's a different matter. But, if you're the kind of person who goes, oh, well, I'll just be smart about what I do, but you can't live under a rock.
Right. I mean, because I live in the San Francisco area, so it's just like, if you're going to think about someone coming around, like anywhere I go could also potentially be a target. So, I felt very good about the whole thing. I really felt like, they knew what they were doing and they were on alert. And so that's all you can do.
Did you have a favorite restaurant or a favorite activity that you did besides the marathon, obviously?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the the neighborhood, but there were two restaurants that we went to that were across the street from each other, and one was Chez Fernand.
Chez Fernand, okay.
Yeah.
Nice, that's a good name.
And then across the street, I think it was called La Boussole.
La Boussole, okay.
And they were both just like kind of, I mean, not touristy places at all. And we had, I actually had escargot at both locations. I had boeuf bourguignon at one location, lamb tagine at La Boussole, which isn't very French, but it was incredibly delicious.
Oh, that's really good, yeah. Tagine is good. Mm.
Yeah, and it was a cute little neighborhood. I think it's an expensive neighborhood. That's why everything was very cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a lot of tourists around. It kind of felt like most of the people around us seemed to be French. So yeah,
it's good. Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
It does get really good ratings. I just looked, well, Chez Fernand anyway gets really good ratings. I haven't looked up La Boussole, but,
yeah, Chez Fernand was very cute. I had like the red checked tablecloths on the tables, and everything. So it was very much at least appeared to be a neighborhood sort of place.
That's great. And did you have a favorite activity?
I think that it's going to sound weird, but like Palais Garnier was wonderful.
Yes. No, that doesn't sound real weird to me. It's awesome.
Yeah, and it was just a little bit unexpected, I think, because it was right in the middle of the city, and it looks pretty from the outside, but you almost don't really expect everything on the side. And then I also, and this is going to be strange, but we met this French guy on the train back from Versailles, and he took us to Giverny the next weekend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was, and that was gorgeous. That wasn't something that I thought we were going to be able to do on our trip, and I was so happy that we were able to go there because I could not have imagined how gorgeous the garden.
That is a very friendly person.
He was so kind. He's an engineer at Renault, and something had happened to the train. I think it had hit someone, so there was no trains leaving the closest station for an hour. And he was like, I'm going to walk to this other station, like, if you want to come with me. And he literally he was going to the same metro stop we were. He lived very close to where we were staying. So we chatted to him while, we were in town. He joined us for dinner at Chez Fernand. And yeah, we went out to Giverny, and I mean, he was just great because it was all the things that you hear that French people don't want to talk about, like politics and money and things like that. Like, he just kind of wanted to hear a young person's perspective from America. And so it was really great. We had a really good time talking to him, and
it sounds like you made a friend.
Absolutely. So, and he might end up he's taking a sabbatical from work, so he may end up coming over to America. So we might get to show some things over here too.
That's great.
Yeah, people say French people aren't friendly, but they absolutely are.
No, they are friendly. It's just how you approach them. They don't like the move over, I'm coming kind of person. But if you're polite and kind and you say bonjour, it usually works out very, very well.
Yes. Yeah. It was.
Well, it sounds like this guy was extra friendly. I mean, having dinner with you, and I'm assuming he wasn't flirting with you. I don't know. Maybe he was.
I don't think so. And maybe I'm just sick of these things. But no, like one night after we had dinner, we went out to see the Eiffel Tower sparkle, and there were some other folks lost, and he was helping them figure out how to navigate the train system. So I think it was just,
that's just the way he is.
Yeah. He loves Paris. He loves the history. And
was he your age or older?
I think he was, because I'm 36. I think he was late 20s.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, he just wants people to be able to experience Paris in a positive way. So he was really trying to.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Extra point for Renault.
Yeah, right?
I don't like their cars, but he sounds like a nice person.
Yeah, he's good.
All right. Anything else you want to tell us about before we say goodbye?
I don't think so. Honestly, I just, any experience that you have an opportunity to take advantage of, I would just say do it. It was.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
I regretted any single thing that I did, even if it meant staying up late or getting up early.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show to share your experience with the Paris Marathon, and good luck for other races that you may run in the future. Are you signed up for another one soon?
I have a 10K that I'm running in July, but that's kind of it. I think I'm going to be changing jobs and moving house, so I kind of need to, yeah, right,
life happens.
Time to packing boxes.
Yes. Well, that's also a lot of energy there.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's got to be done sometimes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Calee.
Of course. Thank you.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
My thanks to Dennis Hankey, who signed up to support the show on Patreon this week. Your patron number 60, Dennis. Thank you very much for stepping up and helping the show continue. And thank you to all the patrons who support the show month after month. I want you to know how much I appreciate your continued support. To support the show on Patreon, go to patreon.com/join us, Patreon. And join us without any spaces or dashes. And to support the show in some other way, there are many. You can go to joinusinfrance.com/support. Thank you for reviewing the show on iTunes. Denny 2016 from the United States, who rates the show 5 stars and says, great information and fun too. And also to Bushell, I suppose, from the United States, who says it's fun, quirky, and informative podcast about visiting France, and also says, on the podcast with both Annie and Elise, the two discuss, debate, and interrupt each other in a way that is so endearing you wish you could join them in person. I really wish I could meet more of you in person, and maybe someday I will on a tour, who knows. There was also a review from AB0312 from the United States, who also rates the show 5 stars and says, delightful! Lots of episodes about a variety of topics for those interested in France. I have never been, but I'm learning the language and hoping to go soon, so I enjoy prepping with this podcast and opening my ears to things about France that I could never learn by just perusing Google or TripAdvisor. Lots of tips for your upcoming Parisian vacation. Annie is warm, knowledgeable, and honest about experiences, places, and adventures in France. I love her interviews with those who visited the country. She has really created a sense of community through the podcast and then the closed Facebook group that accompanies it. I enjoy any time I get to listen to an episode. Merci, Annie. Well, you are going to make me blush. Thank you for taking the time to review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to the show. And what else you can do for the show? You can share episodes on Facebook. Your friends need to find out about it because, as you know, I'm kind of useless at marketing. I also want to thank all the people who get in touch with me to offer to record an episode with me about their experience in France. If we have discussed recording an episode together in the past and I got too busy and I dropped the ball, please ping me again. I want to hear from you. And for any of you who want to connect with me, you can do it either on the Join Us in France closed group on Facebook, or you can email me, annie@joinusinfrance.com, or leave me a voicemail at 1-801-806-1015. In a personal update, I just spent a few wonderful days in areas of the Dordogne that I didn't know as well as others with my friend Brenda. It's such a wonderful part of France. I will record some episodes about it very soon, probably with Brenda, and you'll hear all about it. But in the meantime, I've added some hotels to the list of hotels I can heartily recommend. And you can see the hotels that I recommend both for Paris and the Dordogne on joinusinfrance.com/hotels. We have had an early heat wave in France this June, and I record this episode on June 24th, 2017. And the temperatures hit 105 degrees F, which is 40.5 C, which I probably don't have to tell you that is just awful. It is so hard to keep going all day visiting this and that and whatever you do when, whatever you want to do when you're visiting, when it's so hot. So for those of you coming to visit this summer, I really cannot emphasize strongly enough to make sure you choose a hotel that has air conditioning, because no matter what they say, when it's that hot, even the thick walls of a chateau will not really protect you from the heat. I mean, it'll still be really muggy and wet and uncomfortable. If the hotel has both AC and a pool, that's even better. And one of the ones that we visited and that I added to the list of great hotels did. It was a beautiful chateau with a beautiful pool. It was fantastic. Also, keep in mind as you plan your trip that you need to reserve all the things that need to be done outside to the morning hours, to the cooler morning hours, because that's the only time that's really a little bit cool when the temperatures get that hot. For the afternoon, save those hours to go to the pool or canoe or anything where you can get wet, or you can go visit the inside of a cave in the Dordogne. There's lots of them. Or visit a large museum. They always have AC to protect the art because, French people, they don't care that much about the people. They just want the art protected. And unfortunately, I have found that a lot of cafes and restaurants in the Dordogne did not have AC, which meant that sometimes it was really more comfortable to grab a sandwich and eat it in the car with the engine running than sitting, at a terrace, even under an umbrella. You're just sweating like it's crazy. And we also found that buying ice, just plain old ice cubes or ice blocks, was difficult at grocery stores. We found one bag, and we went back the next day and they had none. And we looked at it at another store, another major grocery store near Sarlat, and they didn't have them. So I talked to the clerks about this, and they said, well, we get more when it gets hot. And I'm like, how much hotter than this is it going to get? It's already like 105. What are you, it's not going to get any hotter than that, I don't think. The Dordogne is still very much a place where there is a definite tourist season, and that's July and August. The rest of the time, the French habits of we don't need AC and we don't need no ice prevail. And, it's just how they live and they don't care. So just keep it in mind. You have to plan around that and really organize your days so you can stay cool in the afternoon and early evening, because otherwise you will die. Vous allez mourir de chaleur. Merci. Au revoir. Thank you for listening to the show. To connect with me, you can email me, Annie@joinusinfrance.com, or leave me a voicemail by calling 1-801-806-1015. If you enjoy the show and would like to express your appreciation for what we do here, please visit joinusinfrance.com/support, where you can donate, tip your guide, or help us earn a commission when making purchases. Again, that's joinusinfrance.com/support. This episode is licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Non-Derivatives International License. Au revoir!